Minister, I think you'll agree there's nothing more important or no more important responsibility for a government and a Minister for Agriculture and Food than to ensure the safety of food consumed by the citizens and the people of this state. Now, the food industry is a vital one for the country, and its ultimate success depends on absolute confidence and trust in its operation, in its processes, and above all, in its products. And obviously, complete transparency is required at all times. Now, in relation to the contamination of beef products by horse meat and pig DNA, the Minister yesterday said that he was told only on Monday last for the first time. And I accept the Minister's word, but could I put it to you, Minister, do you think it's acceptable that even though tests were conducted in November and results were available in November which were positive for such contamination, that a government minister was only told last Monday about an issue so grave and so profound in relation to the reputation of the industry, and that his own departmental officials were told on the 21st of December by the FSAI and were sought and asked to cooperate with the FSAI? Do you think it's acceptable that the officials did not tell the minister in December about such a serious issue, and is it acceptable? Furthermore, could you indicate, Minister, who is heading up the investigation into this? The personnel, the person who's leading it. Is the Food Safety Authority of Ireland involved in the investigation? And do we have independent experts involved in trying to find out what happened here? Furthermore, I would ask the Minister if he could indicate whether the government is now prepared to introduce a traceability system for horses, similar to that which exists for cattle, for pigs and for sheep.
Thank you.
My colleague Deputy Keller asked last March, following a TV documentary in TV3 in relation to this issue in terms of illegal slaughtering of horses, and there was a major Sunday Times expose on this. And the Minister confirmed in his reply to Deputy Kelleher that there was no central database. Now, I understand that the number of horses slaughtered in this country has rocketed to 20,000 last year. So there are clearly issues in that sector. And in that reply, the Minister did not commit to establishing such a traceability system. Will he now have a rethink on that, and will you commit the government to establishing such a traceability regime, which I think is important in terms of safety and traceability of horses and subsequent products?
Firstly, can I say that the government absolutely would agree with all deputies, I think, in this House, that our food industry is a critical part of our economic activity in this country. It is critical for our export sector, and it is critical for jobs. That is why we have such a high standard of oversight of food production in this country, the best, I would say, in the world. In terms of the focus on this issue, I think it is important to reiterate that this is not a public health issue. It is an issue that doesn't relate to food safety, but it is an issue that relates to food standards. And in that regard, I think it is important, some of the questions that have been asked, for example, in the United Kingdom, because they don't do the level of testing that we do here. And our Food Safety Authority not only is focused on ensuring that no contaminants that would impact on the health of individuals go into any food product, but that the food products are as labelled. Those high standards, I think, have been acknowledged even in the last 24 hours. To answer the specific questions raised by the Deputy, it obviously will be a matter for the Food Safety Authority to conclude its current investigations. They're being assisted by the Department of Agriculture and Food and the Marine, whose inspectors have gone into the meat plants. I understand that the most recent testings, the results of those will be available and made public this afternoon. It is important that we approach this entire episode in a completely open and transparent way. I think that the sequence of events as laid out by Minister Coveney yesterday is clear to the House, it is clear to the public, so that we can have confidence in robust systems. And where failings occur, that they will be identified because our systems are so robust. In terms of what might follow on in terms of further legislation or further food tracing systems, all of that can be addressed once we find the source of the current contamination and give absolute assurances to the Irish people who consume these products and to any exporter who buys an Irish product that the highest standard that we are determined to maintain are in place, and that there is no threat either to the safety or health of anybody, and that's quite clear already, but also that the product that is labelled is the product that people get.
Thank you,
You didn't answer the central question I asked you. The tests were completed in the end of November, the first batch of tests, and they were positive in relation to the contamination. There was a further set of tests carried out in December. They were equally positive. Why wasn't the Minister told in November or December that such tests were being carried out and that the results of such tests were positive? That's the fundamental question. And do you think it's acceptable that the Minister for Agriculture and Food, whose responsibility this is, and the Minister for Health obviously over the SFAI, but why wasn't Minister Coveney told in November or December by his officials or by the officials in the FSAI that a major issue in relation to the reputation of our food industry had arisen? Now, I don't think it's a good enough answer to say, well, we had to get it confirmed in Germany before we tell the Minister. Now, I asked this yesterday again, and I didn't get an answer to that. And there still is no answer to it. And in the replies yesterday, there was no reference to it. So can you answer that? Do you think it's acceptable that the Minister wasn't told, number one, that tests were going on, that two, the results of the tests were positive?
Thank you.
I think this was laid out in some detail yesterday by Minister Coveney. And I'll give you the sequencing again, just for clarity. The first samples were taken by the FSAI as part of one of their snapshot surveys that they do periodically across all food production in this country, and was done in mid-November and sent for analysis to a private laboratory. In December, the Food Safety Authority of Ireland took further samples at retail level and again had them analysed in a private laboratory. Following this process, all of the initial samples, which tested positive, were sent for analysis to a German laboratory. And the results of that analysis, which is the conclusive results from the German laboratory, were received by the FSAI on Friday, the 11th of January, which was last Friday. And the FSAI informed the Department of Agriculture of the results last Monday, the 14th of January. Once that information was received in the Department of Agriculture, obviously the Minister was informed, and the Minister informed the Cabinet at its first opportunity, which was the next day, which was Tuesday.
The Minister should have been informed in November and
well, in terms of, I think that you're going into a level of detail now. I'm not.
Very basic question.
Sorry,
we won't have a conversation across the floor, thank you.
Through the chair, I think it really is important. It really is important because the food industry in this country and the thousands of jobs that depend on it are such importance that we do this in a measured, open, transparent way. And obviously, the detailed, until I know what exactly information the FSAI had at any given point, they pass it on at the appropriate point. And all of this...
We know what information they had in November.
Sorry, Deputy, please.
So I just want to straight.
All of this...
Thank you, Minister.
All of this, the sequencing, the degree of knowledge, the quality of the result can be put in very clear questions to the Minister for Agriculture. He'll lay it out in a completely open, in a completely transparent way. And let us all work to ensure, number one, that the regulatory regime, the food safety standards, and the oversight procedures we have in this country have worked. They identified it. It was here. Irish product was examined by Irish authorities and made known by Irish authorities, so that the standards that we demand will be and are being maintained.
Thank you.